It's all about humanity.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and I'm telling you right now, folks, we are going to have one hell of a 90 minutes. Not only do we have Steel Rain, one half of the outstanding podcast known as Living Split Screen, we're opening up with breaking news regarding Ubisoft Plus. We're going to see how all of Sony's nasty, dirty little secrets are going to be made public for everyone to see, thanks to a subpoena to produce 11 years of deals that they've been up to, including past, present, and current future. This comes the way of many people. Shout out to Idle Sloth, who's been dropping bombs left and right when it comes to, some of the biggest stories of the year so far. But listen, let's get into introductions first as you watch some Dead Space remake gameplay. Now, you might be wondering why it's very light looking. It's because this game is dark AF and you can't see it even when I try to light up the game. So obviously, you're going to get a chance to see over an hour worth of beginning footage. No spoilers, folks. But Steel Rain, welcome back, brother. How you feeling?
Hey, boom. Glad to be back within the kingdom of the Boomstick, man. And looks like we got some interesting things to get into, man. Look, I am one half of Living Split Screen. I am Steel Rain, the one and only. And it is my pleasure to be here today, Boom. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's great to have you, brother. It certainly is. And we're going to get into it, brother. We got a lot of really great topics. So get ready, folks. Your next 90 minutes, 90 plus minutes is going to be filled with lots to talk about. But Web Dave, good morning or good afternoon now. How you feeling, brother? And congratulations on a successful launch of your new show with Retri. You had a show yesterday. Talk about that and welcome to the show. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. Show went great. We'll probably talk more about that at the end of the thing, but I'm ready to get into these topics, man. I'm on fire. Boom. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, brother, no problem. Thank you for joining us, as always. And last and no way least, the racing car extraordinaire himself, Fuzzy Belvedere. How you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Doing pretty good. Glad to be here. Man, this is going to be an awesome week, I think, in gaming news and some interesting topics to get into. So let's do this.
Yes, sorry about that. I was typing and I typed the wrong thing. I want to welcome. I try to welcome everybody. Shout out to Cammy28, who's always here in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. Sin, what's going on, brother? And Crispy Rambo, what's going on? Listen, let's get into the breaking news that I was talking about. Now, of course, thanks to Idle Sloth, who once again, the human or inhuman detective, I should say, constantly finds. I don't know if the guy actually sleeps. Some people accuse him of being a robot. He's not. He's actually human. He's just that good. We have some really, really tantalizing information regarding Xbox Game Pass and more specifically Ubisoft Plus. According to TrueAchievements.com, they posted a story just about an hour ago where they have unearthed 63 games coming to Ubisoft Plus, which will be a part of Xbox finally. Now, remember, this was announced in mid-February of last year. Right after the ABK deal was announced, we learned that Ubisoft Plus would be coming to Xbox. What's interesting and what we still don't know is where this is going to land in regards to cost. Now, according to, once again, TrueAchievements.com, shout out to them, they have found 63 games. And real quick, I will give you the list of the 63 games. Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, India, and Russia. It also has Assassin's Creed 3, 4, Odyssey Origins, Rogue Remastered, Syndicate, the Enzo Collection, Creed Unity, and Creed Valhalla. It also has Battleship, Boggle, Child of Light, Family Feud, and this is where, if you're a fan of Far Cry, and really who's not, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Classic Edition, Far Cry 4, 5, 6, New Dawn Primal. They also have Fighter Within, For Honor, Grown Up, Hungry Shark World, Immortals Phoenix Rising. That game you should not miss. It's freaking phenomenal. Jeopardy, Monopoly Plus, and Madness, Oddballers, Rabbids Invasion, Party of Legends, Rayman Legends, Riders Republic, Risk, Urban Assault, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the Complete Edition, Scrabble, Shape Up, South Park, both of them, The Fractured Butthole, and The Stick of Truth. Again, 2 games that if you missed them on the 360, you need to, the X360, the Xbox One, you need to play both of those games, especially if you're a fan of South Park. They also have Steep, The Crew 1 and 2, and they have quite a few of Tom Clancy's classics, Ghost Recon Breakpoint and Wildlands, Rainbow Six Extraction, Tom Clancy's The Division 1 and 2, Trackmania Turbo, Transference, Trials, Fusion, Rising, and Blood Dragon. It also has Trivia Pursuit Live and Part 2. It has Uno, and it has all of the Watch Dogs Legion, Watch Dogs 1 and 2. 2 is my absolute all-time favorite. The characters are amazing. If you missed out on Watch Dogs 2, you got to play the main character, one of my favorite Ubisoft characters. And of course, his cast or his crew in that game were phenomenal. Wheel of Fortune and the first-person zombie game called Zombie. This is a stacked list. There's also, folks, 100 pieces of DLC that will be made available day and date when this finally goes into Xbox. But you see, this is where we get into the weeds. According to the story, Ubisoft has yet to announce the pricing of Ubisoft Plus. But what has been confirmed, folks, according to Ubisoft, not Xbox, this will not be included in the game, in your Game Pass Ultimate subscription. At least this is what was originally said last year. Now, things could have changed. I certainly don't know what took so long to get these games here. I'm sure it had a lot to do with the contract and how this was going to happen. But if you are someone that plays on PC, Ubisoft Plus currently it's $15 or $14.99 per month. So we could be getting something similar to that, or we could get a surprise. Now, the reason why I'm a little bit, concerned is because we have absolute confirmation that if you are a Sony PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium member, you do get something called Ubisoft Plus Classics. Now, it is slightly different than what the standard Ubisoft Plus delivers, but it's still something that is part of Sony's subscription plan. So I'm kind of on the fence where this goes here. Does Microsoft drop Ubisoft the bag and get this into Xbox Game Pass, Ultimate, like we have with EA Plus? I don't know. For me, and again, this is just my opinion. We're going to get everyone's opinion right now. If it's a separate $15 a month, because I'm a Ubisoft fan and buy a lot of their games, remember, once you become a part of this new subscription service, again, if it's an extra $15, that's entirely up to you as a consumer. You get the game in there day and date the same way you would with Xbox Game Pass first party games, and you get all DLC. Steele, I want to start with you, brother. You are already a subscriber. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be some sort of a transition that you just get it because you already are paying $15, or is it a separate fee? But is this something that could benefit people that are fans of Ubisoft and actually have Xbox?
I mean, if especially if you're a fan of Ubisoft or Xbox, for sure, it could definitely be it could be an entry point, right? Because in additional, even if it ends up being the extra $15, because you got to keep in mind also, Ubisoft does have its own levels. Like you made the example what PlayStation has with the Ubisoft Classics. That's just a level that they allow PlayStation to, or whatever deal that they worked out for them to be able to do that. I imagine that there's going to be something similar where there's multiple tiers, because Ubisoft has that currently, to where, hey, you get the normal Ubisoft Plus. They might charge current Xbox members, especially if you're part of Game Pass Ultimate, an additional $5, maybe $10 for that, right? And it would be difficult for me to say that it's not worth it or not. Because I'll say that I'm not the biggest Ubisoft fan, but when a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out, you best believe I was there day and day, and I was subscribed for many months before I decided, hey, I'll pull out, and I still am subscribed currently. Actually, more so recently resubscribed so I can play with one of my brothers on Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So you have a lot of variety in games that are in there that maybe if you haven't played in a while, or maybe you want to check out some of the new updates, because a lot of games are getting that 4K 60 upgrade, especially on Xbox, it could be well worth it. Again, at the end of the day, it is going to be ultimately an option more than anything else. And I do think that if they bring Ubisoft Play Pro over, that is going to be a feat in itself, because with Ubisoft Play Plus, Pro, whatever it's called, I can't remember the name of it, Plus Play, Pro, whatever. Either way, their top tier, you literally get everything. So when you download a game, you get all its DLC. You don't have to worry about paying any additional for anything. And I believe that that could be well worth it to somebody who hasn't played these games, right? You jump into a Ghost Recon Breakpoint like I did. I haven't bought any DLC, but I have access to all the content. I think that's really dope, right? I paid $15 for it, as if you want to make it, kind of paint it that way. I paid $15 for this game. I play it for a few months. Maybe I play it for even longer. Maybe I try an Assassin's Creed. Maybe I try out a Rainbow Six, and I unsubscribe if it's not fulfilling the needs that I'm looking for. I do think it's also going to be a little bit of a shot in the foot for Ubisoft and Xbox if they don't figure out a way to get Pro over at a discounted price for Ultimate members. So again, if it's an additional $10, I think if it's only about $10 extra, I think that's beyond well worth it to me. But again, it's all going to be about whether those games are worth it to you, right?
Value is in the eye of the beholder. Isn't that what they always say?
Yeah, beauty is always going to be in the eye of the beholder at all times. Same as value. So it's all going to be about perception, right? Again, this is going to be an additional option, and you could choose to pay this additional amount of money or not. But we still don't know whether that's going to be the case or not. I do hope that it is more so like that day and date type thing that Ubisoft does, just because knowing the position that Ubisoft currently is in, to get more attention on their games, you have to make it seem like you're giving a perceived value at least. So,
you bring up a great point. One that did not hit the brain pan until literally you said it. Ubisoft financially is in a bit of a pickle.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not in the room when Microsoft is sitting down with the folks trying to come up with a financial plan. I could imagine maybe Microsoft going back, because remember, this was announced last year, and they've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And we heard something a couple of weeks ago, and now we're hearing more information regarding it launching sooner than later. But they're in a bit of a pickle when it comes to finances, right? They're not doing so well. A couple of their games have not hit like they expected them to hit. There's all kinds of internal turmoil. There's been some talk about them trying to pretty themselves up for an acquisition. Nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Maybe, at some point they sit down and say, maybe, we take that bag from Microsoft a very large stuffed bag of money to have this hit Xbox Game Pass for no additional charge, because Microsoft basically is trying to bring inherent value and attract more consumers to what is considered the Netflix of gaming. Again, I cannot wait to hear, but that's a very interesting theory, Steele. I didn't even consider the fact that they are financially in a bit of some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it can be an addition. And again, knowing that the position that they're in, it just depends on what kind of deal that they want to end up cutting. I don't think that it's just going to be something that's being charged $15 a month for. It's just going to be casually just added in. Hey, if you're a Game Pass Ultimate member, you're going to get this. Just because, again, value is always going to be up to the person. Although this would be additional value, there's still business behind it. Just saying, just expecting for it to be, well, they're just going to throw it in there and I'm going to get access to all these games and all this content day one and all the there's a lot behind that. That would really have to come to the table for that to be but I think there may end up being like an additional $5-10, and if they can do something like that, not only does it do great for Ubisoft, boosting their numbers up, but it's also inherently, I think, will end up boosting some of Game Pass, because it's one of those, again, if I can give you perceived value, it's up to you whether you appreciate that value or not.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, let's bring in Web Dave into the conversation. Dave, this is a very interesting theory that Steel Rain. I mean, again, this is why you can tell he's a host of his own show, because I didn't even consider this. And real quick, if you're wondering why I switched to Tomb Raider, I'm sorry to say I was watching my own Dead Space footage and it looked horrendous. I tried to lighten it up, and it's such a dark game that even if and I have all the bells and whistles, HDR, everything's checked off, it's just not present well. So. Please enjoy the first hour and some change of one of my favorite Tomb Raider games of all time. But Dave, Steel brings up a very interesting theory here. For me personally, how I hope that this goes down is that I turn on my Xbox one morning and Ubisoft Plus is there, and I don't have to lift a finger to tap subscribe now to anything else, that it's automatically included in my subscription. Now, there are a lot of gamers, and there's millions and millions of Xbox gamers, some of which, Game Pass isn't their bag, so they don't subscribe. And I personally don't understand why that would be, but that, of course, is a choice.
Right.
So Ubisoft Plus might be an option for a gamer who is not invested in Game Pass, but wants to subscribe to what is normally only available on PC. And that is Ubisoft Plus for $15 a month. Let's just say that's the hypothetical number. And I think that option is great for people who have not, as of yet, gotten behind Game Pass. And that's fine. Again, choice, yours, do what you want. For me, it's ridiculous value. Where do you kind of feel like, where is your leveling here? Does this need to be included, or does it need to be included for an additional $5 versus the 15 if you buy everything separately? Where do you kind of feel with this? Because I kind of feel, and folks, I know I'm going to get some hate, and if you're a content creator, you notice that sometimes people aren't so nice when it comes to the comments, and that's fine. I kind of feel, and I'm not owed anything here, but I kind of feel that it makes sense that we have EA, EA in there. Microsoft is doing their own thing. We get a lot of third, second, and indie games in there because people want to join the service and be a part of the millions of people that have Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. I kind of feel, and I'm kind of more like a hope, that Microsoft has figured out a way to get this in as just an additional value. Where do you personally fall in regards to this?
Okay, well, to start off, would I like it to be in Game Pass and included? Yes. Would it be nice if it was maybe an extra $5 and we could get it in Game Pass? That'd be great. Do I think it's going to be? I don't. And the reason for that is basically they're bringing their entire PC service over the ability to have it on the Xbox. So if you are a big fan of Ubisoft, then you'll probably be willing to pay that price of what you want. I mean, you may have Game Pass, you may have Ubisoft, and to you, it's like you're getting tons and tons and tons of games if that's what you want. Will they do it? I mean, I hope they do. But as far as, right now they're kind of hurting for money. EA is included in Game Pass, but EA isn't hurting for money, and we don't know what the deal is. We don't know, how they set that structure up. It could be everything's allowed into Game Pass, and then it's maybe EA gets paid still based off the what gets played and what gets downloaded. I mean, they could still, because they keep the analytics for everything that comes across the board. So saying if there's like 20,000 people playing Madden, this is just a rough example, then they would get compensated in the amount of people playing Madden. EA would get that amount of money that particular month. Those kind of things can be set up and structured all in the back end. Like Phil said, every company that's in Game Pass, can be different because they have the ability to work with the different companies to what works best for you to get your product in our ecosystem. So that's always the possibility. But I mean, if they're, and we know from what they've said, and they've sold off some things, and canceled a bunch of games, that they're, possibly, hurting for money. So I don't think they would want to give away without the benefit of getting something for it. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is a way for them to get their games on this platform for themselves. And if Microsoft is willing to do it, because Microsoft knows that it benefits them to give all of us who are in the ecosystem more choices, it just makes their product that much better. So that's my thinking, and I'm probably wrong, but it's just another perspective. Would I like it to happen though? Yes, I think it would be great if it was all bundled in, and woo-hoo. I'm just ready for that family plan. That's what I need.
Family plan. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes Microsoft hurts themselves by letting things leak and things get announced. Like, we knew the family plan was coming because it was launched in 2 regions before everywhere else. And we have heard recently that it is coming. I just wish that would have been something they would have announced at the show and get it rocking and rolling, because a lot of people are waiting for that family plan, which has been confirmed as up to 5 people at $5 a piece. Again, maybe that has not been brought to fruition simply because this deal is something that they're waiting for, right? Like, they were waiting for this deal to happen, and they're going through all the schematics on it. But Fuzzy Belvedere, Dave and Steel Rain have knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. Where do you personally fall on whether or not this is in the service day and date, and it's just added? You're already a subscriber, so it's just added value, which would be insane. Additional maybe $5 more, making, because we have heard, Fuzzy, that there might be different tiers coming to Xbox Game Pass, right? We know that the day and date currently, with first party and lots of second, third, and indie games, is the current $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate, right? What we don't know is where Ubisoft Plus goes into. Does that become a part of the service like EA? Does that be an additional tier? Is that a $20 tier instead of the 15? 15 a separate month for 30. They give it to you for 20. Where do you kind of fall? Where do you think that this ends up?
Well, it's weird for me because I already own a good bit of the Ubisoft products.
Me too. Yeah.
So it's either way, they tend to merge this in or add it, or however they want to do it. It'll probably work out in the end. But for me, I hope that they do a similar thing to what the PlayStation tiers have, as far as having the Ubisoft classics. I think any of their games that are over a year old at this point probably should be rolled into some sort of vault system. especially a lot of them that are considered to be ongoing games like For Honor and Division and things like that, where they're still doing some seasonal stuff and they're still selling like cosmetics and things along those lines. I think those should be kind of rolled in. Now, the drawback is Ubisoft hasn't really released a game as of recently or in quite some time. So it's hard for the Ubisoft Plus aspect when they do start hitting their cadence of releasing games like Skull and Bones or this Motorfest thing. Um, I think that's going to wind up being like a separate, either standalone 15 or maybe it's a $5 add-on for Ultimate. It'd be kind of cool if they
Pretty dope.
go that route. Me at this point in time, I'm probably not going to sign up for the additional 15 just because there isn't a Division 3 in the works just yet, or at least that I can see. And the Star Wars game is probably far further down the road, and not sure if I'm looking forward to the Avatar game or not. So
Mhm.
for me, a vault system would probably be the best bet. Roll it in, or maybe it's a $5 adder. I would say because of EA, just roll it in because you'll continue to have people play your games and buy your cosmetics and season passes and stuff like that. But as far as the Ubisoft Plus, where you get all the DLC or day and date games, I could see them definitely making that like an additional cost to the Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, whether it's an additional 5 or an additional 15. But for me, until there's a Division 3 rumored to be in the works and they actually come to release it, and the Star Wars game has an announcement date, and maybe Beyond Good and Evil has an announcement date, then I'll probably consider Ubisoft Plus. But at the current moment, I mean, great value, don't get me wrong. A lot of their games are some of my favorites, but I already owned like 98% of them. I think the only Ubisoft game of recent that I haven't bought is Breakpoint, only because I I've played it on those free weekends and did the demo, and it just, for me, I prefer Wildlands over Breakpoint. But
Wildlands was much better,
yeah.
especially considering the fact that you were used to when it first launched. I mean, I put a lot of time into Breakpoint, but it
Mhm.
was you were just out there by yourself with no backup,
Yeah.
and it was ridiculous that came in like a year and change later where you got your buddies back. I was like, what happened? Why? Yeah, I
Yeah.
like what everyone's putting down. Look, at the end of the day, uh, value is perceived by you. You decide what value is worth. Uh, for me personally, I would like it to be a part of the service. I think Ubisoft is in a bit of a situation where them taking a bag of money from Microsoft, so Microsoft, gives them an injection of cash that they need, would be great for them and great for Xbox because we wouldn't have to, add any additional, monthly things to which I think everybody in the chat, we got almost 400 people here. I'm sure that without even, pointing out a specific person, you have 10 subscription services that you're paying for right now, whether that's Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, whatever it is. You pick your 10. I guarantee you have 10. um do we need another one? Well, for me personally, I'm a Ubisoft fan, so I would spend the money. I prefer not to spend the $15 a month. I think that again, everyone had great points. Is it an additional $5? Is there another tier in Xbox Game Pass? Do they just say, "Hey, listen, if you have Game Pass Ultimate for $5 or more, instead of the 15 per month for Ubisoft, you pay $5," and you're like, "Okay, that's cool. I could do that." Or they give you an even cheaper price instead of the $60 a year. You buy it now for $40. You give us the one injection of $40, and every year it goes, that's fine too. Because that's how EA was at some point. If you guys remember, you could pay monthly or you could do the one shot. And then it was eventually added to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Uh, there is something to be said about Ubisoft, and shout out to several people that dropped it in here. Ubisoft haven't released a new game in 3 years. So what are we subscribing for? Because for me personally, every one of the games, or at least more than half of the big AAA games that I read off that 63 game list, I already own. I own all of them. I own all the Assassin's Creeds. I own every one of the Far Cries. all of the Watch Dogs. I own everything, including most of the DLC. So for me, it doesn't jump off the page as value because I have most of the stuff. Even like the Trials games, I own every one of them. So from outside of like Monopoly and a few of the board games, I have everything. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm very interested to see where Microsoft, or Xbox, I should say, comes at this, because like I said, Ubisoft Plus Classics is currently included in both of the higher tiers for PlayStation Plus, both Extra and Premium. You get PlayStation Plus Classics. Ubisoft Plus Classics. So if it works in that service, which I think is it is what it is for your $18 a month or $120 a year. I think this something needs to be included in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Hopefully, it's the whole kit and caboodle. That would be kind of dope. And hopefully, that's because Microsoft dropped a bag of money, and we know that they have. Not saying that they have money to burn. I would never say that because I'm not a finance dude. We know that they have a subset of monies set aside for Game Pass investments. And those investments in these services that are included in their service bring people into Xbox Game Pass, and more value brings more consumers. I mean, again, it's business 101, folks. But still, we got to move on to the next topic. And this one,
Hey, Boom.
folks. Yes, sir.
You do have a couple of super chats, and then somebody gifted a bunch.
Yes. Let me get into the super chats over here. And thank you very much, Dave. I'm glad I didn't skip on those, because I would have got to them eventually. But you know what? Why let them pile up? First of all, we have the first one of the day comes to us from a very generous friend of the program. Drawn TJ drops a $2 super chat, and he says the deal will in fact go through. Yeah, I think we were talking about this in the green room. I know Wall Street Journal did a report that, was concerning, Microsoft. Oh, they have regulators. The deal's going to go through. Microsoft is going to do everything that they can do. They're working with regulators. You got to understand, if the CMA or the EU wanted to block it, they would have just straight up blocked it. They have not. They've come back with their concerns sheet that Microsoft has to a certain day to address, and they probably have already had it addressed. It's standard fare that they have to first present the concerns list, and then Microsoft will then address it, and all the parties involved, except for the FTC, which were a bunch of boobs, will figure it out, and eventually the FTC is going to be embarrassed once again and, have to take a knee, like they did 9 times before, or 8 times before, and this will be the 9th. And that's just the way it is. Poor leadership in that United States governmental aspect is why they keep losing. I don't know. Maybe new leadership is the answer. But again, we're going to get into what Sony has to present both to the FTC and what they were subpoenaed, because thanks to Idle Sloth, once again, we have what specifically they are looking for. And folks, nothing makes me smile more than Sony being called to the carpet, and all of their bullshit for years is now going to be put on display for everyone to see how they continue to be the market leader. I cannot wait to get into that topic. But we have Nighturnal, who's been a member for 2 months. He says, great to listen to another great show. Thanks so much for the very generous, monthly donation that you add for membership, and of course, thank you for the very, very kind word. I definitely appreciate that. Drawn TJ drops a $5 super chat and says EA Play was separate for a year before it was added to Game Pass. That is absolutely correct. Leonard Herrera, good friend of the program, has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Abdel114 was gifted a membership. Chris713 was gifted a membership. We also have Clark Osborne was gifted a membership. And let's see, Ballantone was gifted a membership, as well as Tony Grasso. So thank you so much for gifting those memberships, brother. Super appreciate that. And congratulations to everyone that has become a channel member, thanks to Leonard's generosity, and hopefully you kind of stick around and you hope that the content that I'm providing is enough for you to keep allowing us to do the big giveaways, and I definitely appreciate that. Gamers Play HUD Zero drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Yo, boom, XGPU is amazing value.
Mhm.
Adding Ubisoft Plus for an added fee justifies the purchase. I agree. Division 2 is still great. Division 2 is great. But I'm a Division 1 dude. That's like it goes 1 and then 2 for me. I love Division 1. But 2 is good as well. I got no complaints with it. I hope that Fuzzy's correct in saying that 3 is somehow in development. I'm nervous. I'm nervous with Ubisoft with it because they tried to come up with that new horrible. It hasn't even launched yet. It looks terrible. Why the what is it called? Fuzzy. It's
well, they have Heartland, which
that's the
is
one.
like Division without your skills. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess the extraction and like what do you call them? Dark Zone mystique will work, but we'll see.
Yeah, not for me. But listen, hopefully Division 3 is on the way. Eli Slomovich, good friend of the channel, has been a channel member for 2 years. This is all the way from Israel. Thanks so much for that, brother. He drops a very generous. See, I gotta see what it is because I can tell by the color. Hold on just a second. Let me just find it. I believe it is. Let's see. There it is. Yeah, it's $5, brother. Thank you for the generosity because it comes up in your region's denomination. But thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, "Great start to an exciting week. Probably DG comp and CMA findings. Have a great week, boom panel and chat." Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate the kind words and of course the generosity. We also have Tom from Toonami. What's up, Tom? How you feeling, brother? He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "All fun and games until you're in front of the court room having to give over all of them documents." Yeah, that's it. Well, Sony kind of brought this on themselves, but Steel, I want to go to you first, brother. Now, obviously, I want to give the correct information. Jwood 2010 is the tweet that I have in front of me, and he posted exactly what the courts will be asking and looking for. According to what he said, Microsoft wants Sony to provide 11 years of data regarding PlayStation's business practices, such as exclusive contracts they've entered with third party. Interestingly enough, Call of Duty is among those contracts, along with many others. And he continues with and closes out the tweet with, "This won't be a good look for them." Now, the original information comes from Reddit, and who has posted all of this stuff regarding ABK. It's IDAS. He is verified, and he's been putting out stuff. Well, this is what he had to say, folks. "We have more info about what Microsoft is requesting. And according to the report in front of me, 45 distinct documents request. There are a total of 45 distinct document requests as per Microsoft, 13 of which have multiple subparts, for a total of more than 120 separate document requests. These requests demand all documents related to nearly all aspects of SIC's business, as well as extensive sets of financial information, and personal user data, e.g., user date of birth, user country, user gender, covering what will likely be millions of users." He goes on to say, 10 of these requests seek materials going back more than 11 years to January of 2012. He continues, folks. "Sony estimates that providing the response to Microsoft will approximately cost them $2 million or more in fees and expenses, and demand weeks of intense work and substantial efforts and involvement from SIE personnel. Microsoft is requesting all documents related to performance reviews and evaluations of all of Sony's gaming leadership and management, all documents related to SIE's gaming business sent to, received from, or exchanged with other Sony entitles, and executed copies of every content licensing agreement Sony has entered into with any third-party publisher over the last 11 years. Finally, Sony is not happy with the unrealistically short deadlines and irrelevant request of Microsoft. And finally, folks, according to IDIS, in any case, Sony anticipates that this will be the last request for an extension to the motion to quash deadline, and that they either will reach final agreement or narrow at an impasse by February 10th, 2023. Microsoft disagrees with the relief requested in this motion. I mean, Steele, let me just say this.
Yeah.
This shit just got serious.
Man.
Because, look, we understand that Sony proper, SIE proper, PlayStation, they put out some great games, especially when you start talking about first party. There's you again,
Debatable,
maybe the games aren't for everyone, Steele. Maybe God of War isn't your bag. Maybe Horizon, you don't want to play as a female. Maybe Gran Turismo fell short of what we expected, the return of one of the greatest racers of all time. It didn't happen. With all of that said, Steele, one of the things that I think many of us look towards that Sony has gone out of their way to do, and we heard Phil Spencer specifically say it, Sony continues to do well by making Microsoft look small. He said that, and we know that is a tactic that they have used for decades. Exclusive content is key, but we have recently learned that games like Final Fantasy 16 never coming to Xbox. That's confirmed. Final Fantasy 7 never coming to Xbox. That's confirmed. The remake of Silent Hill 2 never coming to an Xbox. So if you want to play it, you either play it on PC, hopefully, or you have to buy a PlayStation 5. This request from Microsoft will really, I don't want to say it's going to cripple Sony, but it's certainly going to, all of their crying about how they would not be able to exist anymore without Call of Duty. This again, they got called to the carpet, and I think they're in a pickle. Well, what are your thoughts on what IDIS had to say on the request specifically from Microsoft?
If this is definitely the case, this is definitely the mess around and find out moment. And I think that's what people have been excited for. People in the chat were saying the same thing, and I think we've all been saying something similar for quite some time, right? Where we're not quite understanding, just as consumers, why, or even as fans, people who are heavily invested in just the industry overall, that is gaming, why this deal, especially it being more American-based, it would help actually propel an American-based company to compete in an industry that they have lacked in for over the last 20 years. We all don't get why there's so much pushback on this. Now, again, yes, you can look at the obvious sides of it. It's a lot of money. It's the most Microsoft has ever been willing to spend in company history. So we get it. Deals shouldn't just go through just because they're an American company either. But with everything that we've heard from Sony up to this point about why they personally feel the deal shouldn't go through, making their fuss about Call of Duty, and saying how much it may end up crippling them in the long run. And again, the FTC and these other governing bodies are going to look at the potential future of all of this, right? But they're supposed to be also fighting for what's going to benefit we as the consumer. And I think what this is going to end up doing is putting out, again, obviously, as stated, putting out Sony's deals on Front Street and saying, hey, you said that Call of Duty was going to affect your bottom dollar at this amount. Let's bring those numbers up to the table. Let's see why that's going to be even consideration. Does this truly hurt competition? That's what you guys are afraid of. well, let's go ahead and start proving things, Boom, as you are familiar with, as a fellow police, well, now retired police, you got to bring your evidence to the table. And if you don't have enough evidence, your case is probably going to get thrown out, or you're going to have to go a step further and have the people on a more federal level look at this case and say, and then come to find out where you may end up getting laughed at because you find out that this doesn't hurt anything, that there is concessions that can be made and can be worthwhile. I do still believe in my heart of hearts that there shouldn't have to be any concessions made in this deal, no matter how they try to spin it. And if these other governing bodies also have the potential to look back on the deal in the future, because there's nothing saying that they can't. That's part of why they exist there. If they can come back to look at it later and you're not provided with enough information to go against it, then why would you want to continuously draw this out other than just to cause a scene? Make Microsoft spend money that maybe they didn't want to spend, maybe dishearten them a little bit. At the end of the day, Sony's in the business of killing competition. They've made that blatantly known.
They've been doing it for 20 plus years. All you have to do is look at Sega. All you gotta do is look at what they did to Nintendo. They listen. I'm not a boob here, folks. I understand that this is a business, and they have to satisfy their investors' deal. Right. But what I think really what took everyone by surprise is how Jim Ryan made it a business to fly to here, there, and everywhere, and multiple times. And suggest that this deal going through wasn't bad for Sony. It was somehow bad for the industry. So remember, they put pen to paper and put out these accusations and these suggestions. And now, Steele, the government that took their side, i.e. the FTC, right, is now going to have to be. And I was going to see what they've been up to, because remember, folks, we understand. We got almost 450 people here. We're in the business, and we talk about gaming and play games every day. These people at the FTC and the CMA and the EU, they don't really know about gaming because they've allowed so much to go through. Look at what happened with Sony specifically. They allowed for a $3.6 billion acquisition of one of the best FPS makers in the game go through as quickly as I tie and lace up my shoes. So maybe they don't have the proper information, Steele. I don't know. But
I mean, that could be a possibility, but I would have to lean more towards the side that they probably do have the information. This just, again, and that could just be being hopeful in that matter. But overall, again, this is kind of the best scenario that we could have also asked for, because this whole issue and this whole thing that we're going through with Microsoft right now is going to set the table for the future. This is going to at least give us a guideline for how future deals can be done. And I think that's more so important than anything else. We just wanted it to be done fairly, right? To not look at somebody who's already monopolizing the gaming industry, isn't really looking to help it grow or expand or reach other markets. They'd rather stick on their platform, their console, and fight tooth and nail to even put their games on PC and say, oh, it's because of money. And if it's because of money, it's been proven that there are other ways to help support. And you, as Sony, have also come out and stated, not just Jim Ryan, not just Shoei, not these people have come out and stated these games are not enough. Our players are not enough. And if they're not willing to push that ball forward, I'm still having a difficult time grasping why they're having such a fight about this entire scenario outside of just because they can and they have the sway to move opinion.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you had concern for Sony, you probably shouldn't, because all you got to do, Steele, is look to what happened for a third quarter that was just published and announced last week, and out of Apple and Microsoft and Google, who had the best year or who had the best third quarter? SIE, PlayStation. They were making money hand over fist. They were selling consoles like they were going out of style. Mind you, does the question come into effect where, because of how well they have been received and how well the PlayStation 5 is doing, they didn't have any fear of raising the price by $50. You see, that's what market leadership does. And I think it's very easy to see that they did that because they're the market leader.
Yeah, I mean, that's easily one of the biggest reasons. It's been one of my biggest things about this entire scenario, and I'll consistently say this. I think it's more so. And again, of course, it's going to be all based on what ecosystem you're more so invested in. So I can understand how somebody that is more Sony-centric can see this as a bad thing. I can understand why somebody who's more Sony-centric doesn't want this to necessarily happen, or why it could possibly lessen competition. But in the truth of the matter, if we're going to have a honest and truthful conversation overall, if you guys want true competition in this industry and want things to evolve and get better, whether it expands out into new markets or existing markets, I think we should all be able to take advantage of the age of accessibility that we're currently in. And to me, at least, unless somebody can show me differently, I know Sony has kind of dipped in, kind of put their toe in a little bit and then pull their toe out of certain industries like multiplayer gaming, like having other live services, and also they're just their own ecosystem in totality, because they didn't value those things to where they are now, why they have those problems, or why you may even disagree. It's just so many good things are happening throughout this situation. And again, I just want to see if this does truly end up being that, hey, you ended up messing around and did find out that this isn't what you wanted at the end of the day. So
yeah, I think that they thought that they were going to deceive everyone with how much money that they were going to currently lose with just specifically Call of Duty. And then after it was offered to them a 10-year, you guys can have Call of Duty multiplayer for 10 years, plenty of time to come up with your own new IP or whatever, go crazy. It's still not enough for us. You know, you can't have Call of Duty in Game Pass. And then we heard, well, if it's in Game Pass, it has to be in our service, which we heard. Microsoft was like, yeah, sure. Well, folks, you know what? I know a lot of people push back on that. Like, oh, why should it be on their service? Well, you know what? Here's the thing, folks. They're not getting it for the price of free. They would probably have to pay upwards per year, pay Microsoft to have it in their service. I don't know, $700, $800 million per year. Because if you remember how much money they made from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, it was ridiculous. And specifically, it was PlayStation that made the most, because most people are on PlayStation playing that game. And they wouldn't get it for free. They'd have to pay for it. And if they wanted to pay for it, well, it would cost them a pretty penny. And that would be, again, folks, $600, $700, $800, $900 million. Microsoft could say, hey, you want it in your service? No problem. You pay it, write us a check, $900 million. And they would have to decide whether or not, I mean, and the other thing, there's questions to that. They don't even put their own first party games in there. How the hell are you asking us to put our first party games in your service? Hey, as a matter of fact, and this is another conundrum. Sony has their own service, right, folks? You know what's not coming into that service? MLB The Show 23. That's coming into Game Pass, not coming into Sony's service. Shocking. I don't understand it. It should at least be in premium, but it's not. Listen, I don't want to get too far off of course here, because we have a lot to cover. Highlander 001 dropped a very generous $5 Super Chat. Says, afternoon booming panel. This is the administrative court. They said if Sony does not provide the documents, then the FTC can use it against Sony. That is absolutely correct. They have to provide the requested documents. They have been subpoenaed. by Microsoft, and then they were recently, as of last week, subpoenaed by the FTC, and they have to provide these documents. And people had asked me, well, Boom, can they get in trouble? Yes, they can. If they try to ask for an extension outside of the 10th, the judge could get aggravated and hold them in contempt of court. I've seen it done in, like criminal law. Personally, I've seen it. I've never been held in contempt, but I've seen it threatened to attorneys that were going up against, for a case that I was involved with many, many moons ago. And they kept postponing and postponing and postponing. And on like the fourth or the fifth postponement, the judge said right there, says, listen, if you ask for another postponement, I'm going to hold all three of the attorneys in contempt of court. We're doing this today. And they wind up losing because they were just stalling. But yes, they can get in trouble. Tom from Toonami drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I have a feeling Sony's argument to the court is going to be the equivalent of those aren't my pants when the judge sees the docs. That would be hilarious. Gerald Mack drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Microsoft is now taking Sony into the deep end and holy-ish pool. Hopefully they can swim. I kind of think they're in a bit. Again, I say it, folks. I think they're kind of in a pickle. Highlander 001 drops an additional and very generous $5 super chat and says, if the concessions are to the point that Microsoft walks away or the deal is blocked, the shareholders will want someone's head. I don't think, look, we don't know, right? I don't know what is going to happen with this deal, other than in my heart of hearts, I believe it's going to get done. Microsoft really does want to be a part of the conversation for PC, which they will get with Blizzard. And more importantly, get into the conversation of having a presence in mobile. Now, again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a professional, folks. I don't have, stats and stacks and stacks of stats to give you. I can tell you that currently, right now, in the UK and in the EU, they have a real problem with a duopoly that's currently being handled by Apple and Google. There's no other players. What this deal does, and I don't know how much of a foothold Microsoft is going to get into mobile in that region, but it certainly can be suggested that them getting a hold of King will bring what to that region of the world? Competition. Mm-hmm. That's what the whole deal is about. That's what these competition boards are for, is to make sure that the competition is fair. Microsoft will not come in and take over, but they will certainly give Apple and Google a run for their money. So, you know what? Let's Dave, let's get you into the conversation. You have been forthright on saying this deal is going to get done. You are our money man. It makes too much sense for the deal to go through rather than the deal being blocked. Mm-hmm. But we are talking about Sony now. Now, Sony has made a lot of big claims to every regulator from the EU to the CMA to the FTC, and they've been out here crying that this deal somehow is going to destroy the industry when we know it's only going to benefit the consumer. More so, it is going to put Sony on blast. They are going to have to stop resting on the laurels of Call of Duty money and actually maybe come back with some new titles like a SOCOM. Invest in the money. You invest the $3.6 billion into Bungie, ask them to make your next SOCOM. I'm sure it's going to be great. But now they've been subpoenaed, and we know that the documents that Microsoft are specifically asking go all the way back 11 years to 2012. Do you think this spells trouble for Sony, considering that they have been the most vocal to block this deal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can I say this so I don't come off sounding stupid? But I mean, Sony has put themselves in this position um, because if they didn't fight for it, their shareholders would be after their heads. Um, they are, from a financial standpoint with Sony, they need to do everything they can to stop this and to make the other companies look bad and to I guess continue to put out their dominance in the market. They're every trick in the book they're trying to do, but when it comes down to the basic facts of the case, they don't really have a leg to stand on. It in the long run, because of their dominance, and there's casual gamers and lots of people out there that play that don't know anything about this deal and don't know anything about their bad tactics and how they're treating other gaming companies and how they're trying to suppress certain games and certain things from other franchises and other companies or money hatting. They don't know any of this and they don't understand it, and to them they just want to play games because little Timmy wants that certain game for Christmas and it's on his console that his mom and daddy have bought it for him. So in the big scheme, way back, pull out from looking down on the world type of view, there's a lot of things that that's why Sony feels like they can go all out. And it may trickle down to especially if Microsoft gets what they want, if they get this, get the deal to go through, which I believe it will wholeheartedly, then they're going to be in a better position. They're not instantly going to be the number one player. They're not instantly going to be jump up to number two, but they'll have the advantage or the ability to now start closing the gap to become where they need to be, which is, their ultimate goal. Of course, every company wants to be the number one company. Coke wants to be number one. Pepsi wants to be number one. But there can only be there can only be one, right? Isn't that what Highlander says?
I hope someone's head doesn't get. Well, again, I can't say that I wouldn't cry if Sony's head got cut off. But I see what you're putting down. Yeah.
But it's definitely. It's eventually it's going to get to that point to where the competition tightens, and like I'm sure Steele and I know Fuzzy feels this way, that's going to benefit all of us as gamers, because that's going to make Sony have to basically shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
they're going to have to step up, and they're going to have to start doing things that they've pushed off or let other, let's money hat Call of Duty for first persons, and everybody to make everybody think it's our game. There's still people that think that this Hogwarts Legacy is only coming out on Sony because they did the marketing deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? Mine's downloading. Boom's already playing.
I'm playing right now, folks, and oh my god, it's so good.
You better be recording some footage for tomorrow's show. I'm just saying.
You know what? I have not recorded any footage, to be honest with you, but I will. I got to definitely. Yes, I flew to New Zealand. If you didn't know, flew back just in time. I got landed just in the nick of time.
Boom's
for
man
the
of the
show.
world.
And hey, how you like them apples?
There you
the
go.
Wizarding World, indeed.
Exactly. But that's the basics of it. I just will they look bad? Will it hurt them? They can take the hits because of their dominance in the market right now.
Right.
So like I said, they basically have nothing to lose other than what they're going to lose. And when it comes to that, and only when the deals are done, and maybe even after these extensions or 10-year whatever grace period goes through, will it start to actually affect them? So for Sony, no matter how much they cry about it, even when they lose, it's going to take a long time for quote unquote the effects of the loss. Maybe even 10 years from now before it really starts taking effect. But we will see what we will see.
Mm-hmm.
Gloves are off.
No, it's. You make a great point. Again, what's interesting here is what you said, Dave. It is going to take quite a few years, and Microsoft is going to have to deliver on their first party, right? We know that's a fact. I've said this before. I think you're really going to see a significant boost to Xbox Game Pass, specifically when they're able. Again, this year, marketing rights are still Sony. 2024 is the last year of the marketing rights for SIE. That will be the next PlayStation or the next Call of Duty that's releasing this year is DLC for Modern Warfare 2. Next year will be a new game in the series. Now, whether that's a new game or a remake, maybe Black Ops 1 gets remade, which is what I'm expecting because they're kind of stuck right now. They're just remaking games and they're selling just as well as they've ever sold. So why make something new? So that's my opinion on that. But the 2024 will be the last year for marketing for Sony if this deal goes through. And it's the last year of the contract, which even if the deal does not go through, Activision would not sign back with PlayStation. They would be so pissed from them because the shareholders want to sell, right? That's what they want to do. They'll make their millions and billions and billions of dollars that they're going to make on this. So they wanted to. So Sony's not getting away unscathed. Like I said this from the beginning, Sony's scorched earth tactics are not going to be good for them in the end. They look like the industry asshole. Sorry, because that's exactly what they look like. But Fuzzy, you usually get feisty when we start talking about this, and I love a feisty Fuzzy, dude. Let's get your hot take on this. 11 years, 11 years dating back to 2012 is what Microsoft is requesting, and they have up until the 10th to respond. Does this put Sony in a light that we knew that they were in? But again, will regulators like the FTC feel like booms after this? After seeing how they used market dominance and second and third party deals for exclusivity to force consumers to buy their brand and stay there.
See, the thing that I'm wondering is if this changes what the concessions might be, because remember, we've always heard about the keep away clause in some of their contracts.
We've seen it. We've actually seen it. Yes.
Yeah, for the streaming services and things like that. But the big one, and I'm wondering if this puts a whole new spin on how competition is looked upon, is when it comes to those cross-play deals. Like, remember the whole deal where they collect money from the developer for putting their product that can be played, cross-play between the two different platforms, and they're like, well, we probably lost sales, so we want a percentage of the overall. Right. So when they see stuff like this, I wonder if they'll even consider what Sony's been asking as far as the contract. It's like, well, you guys have been getting a piece of the pie, whether it's on your box or not. So why do they even really need to put it on your box? Or if they do, you shouldn't be charging people for, this cross-play tax that you've been doing for years. So it's going to be a strange predicament, I think, for Sony in the sense of it's going to hinder their negotiations, I think, as far as the 10-year deal, which if they haven't already, signed that up or snatched that up from Microsoft, they're going to be the ones that are kind of left out, and Nintendo and Steam will be, dancing on the other side of the line. But it just seems funny to me that, they're trying to stall as long as they can, because I guarantee you they know it's not a matter of that it's going to take them forever to get all these papers together and blah, blah, blah. It's more of things like that cross-play tax. It's things like the keep away, clause. It's that type of stuff that they've done, and the wording and the parody stuff that I think they're afraid of it being, in front of these regulators, just because now everything that they had, given the regulators before, the regulators have eaten up, but now the regulators are going to be like, oh, you played us for fools. Oh, so this is how you guys have been doing business, saying that, oh, you're going to be hurt, and this is too big of a franchise for you guys to miss out, but yet you're making all of your competition miss out on these franchises. Let's see. So yeah, I'm real curious to see how this plays out. I think it's going to be to Sony's detriment. Not that it's going to be like closed doors for them by any means necessary or anything like that, but I think it will, hinder them saying, well, we want that 10-year contract that, Microsoft offered before and that we, kind of ignored for a while. Is that offer still good? And if Microsoft decides to pull it, I don't think the regulators are going to really think much of it and be like, well, no, you can't, rescind that. You put that on the table. You can't pull that back now. No, I think the regulators would be like, yeah, you guys better make sure that any future contracts that you guys do that are like this, expect whatever consequences you get from it from your competition. So,
you know what? I want you to specifically talk about that because, folks, we're going to get to Benedict Fox. Obviously, I changed the show a little bit because we had the Ubisoft breaking news. So the Microsoft talk in regards to what to expect on their show, we're not going to cover today because obviously I had to take something out because the show's only 90 minutes. Yeah. But I want you to specifically hit on that point. Microsoft is trying to acquire Activision Blizzard King for a multitude of reasons. Some people think it's Call of Duty. I don't. I think it's King more so than even Blizzard, to be honest with you. I think King is the real get. Call of Duty is just a bonus.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Sony has done, and they've done it in a way, Fuzzy, that is unapologetic. They lock games behind their service and they do deals. Now, there's nothing wrong with the deals that they do. That's business. Some of the other underhanded stuff that they've done over the years is pretty egregious. You mentioned one of it, charging a cross-play tax.
Yeah.
Raising consoles $50. Now, listen, I gave Microsoft smoke. They're raising the console $50 in Japan. I think that's a stupid move. I've given them the smoke publicly. I think it's a bad move. Okay, fine. But Sony charges $10 for an upgrade fee for graphics, for use of your haptic sticks and on your PlayStation 5 that you paid for the controller. You should have use of it, right? They've done a lot of really just dirty things. But one of the things that they've done notoriously is specifically what you mentioned, the anti-Xbox clauses in all their contracts, the anti-Xbox Game Pass clauses. That's going to be brought to fruition, and I think it's going to put them in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, because now they can't say that any of these other exclusives, because it for a while it seemed like some of the regulators were even trying to push this notion that maybe the Bethesda stuff should be on the table as well. But if these guys are already doing this with third parties without even having to buy them, and they're strong arming the industry because they're in that position to do so, being
the market leader, they can do what they want.
It's eventually going to come back to bite them, and I think that's one of those things that when exposed in front of the regulators, they're going to be like, well, now this whole 10-year deal is kind of a moot point because you guys have already done this with like Final Fantasy and other Square Enix things or other games where it's like, okay, there's no hint of when it comes to the other platform. It looks like it's a 1-year exclusive. Somehow it magically turns into a 2-year exclusive or never coming to the platform. So it's like, and then whenever these guys over here have an exclusive, it's like a time thing of like 30 days to 6 months. And then it's like you almost have your cronies pushing this notion in the gaming media that, oh, well, Xbox, when does this come into PlayStation? It's like it's eventually those types of things. When those things are exposed, I don't think they can come back and try to play like they're the victim. It's going to show that they're the bully pulling all the strings behind the scenes. And it's funny because even the indie devs, like there was an indie dev that complained about how the store promotes certain things based on if you've given them like 10,000 to 25,000 for marketing position in the store and stuff. And it's like, it just feels like these guys are ruling with an iron fist in the background, but yet they're crying like somebody kicked over their sandbox or something like that just because Call of Duty is being purchased, not being taken away, but just being purchased. So it's definitely going to sting when the regulators kind of look at this and say, hey, you guys sit down, we'll figure out what the concessions are, and you guys don't really need to be in part of that conversation. It looks like you guys have already got your concessions well in advance, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to say the least. But folks, before I get to the last topic of the show, I got to catch up on Super Chat's, been quite a few of them. Highlander 001 drops not one, but two additional $5 Super Chats. And the first one, he says, as far as a Red Sox fan all of my life, I have seen upsets before. In 1986 World Series with the Mets. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Come to mind. I hope Microsoft acquires Activision. Yeah, so do I. I really want to see them, give Sony a run for their money. And again, I get it. Microsoft painted themselves into a corner, especially in first party. I give them the smoke for that. That hopefully is going to start changing this year. But you can't argue that some of the things that Sony has done to keep people off of Xbox has a lot to do with these anti-Xbox contracts that they have out there. I mean, we've seen them. If you are into this case, specifically the ABK case, you've seen many documents that Microsoft has put out, documents from Sony's anti-Xbox clauses. We know that they exist, but now the courts, the FTC, is going to look at this. And I got to be honest with you. If I'm the FTC, folks, I feel embarrassed that they went out and they put out this whole rigmarole about, Sony. We got to defend Sony because, they're going to be crushed. And they are literally crushing the industry as we speak. More competition needs to come in the form of Microsoft challenging Sony for the throne. And this deal, does the deal do it? Well, that's going to be in their court to deliver big time games, but I think it is definitely going to give Sony a run for their money. We also have another super chat that comes the way of the Black Harry Potter. My brother, listen, I hope that you flew to New Zealand. I didn't see you in the flight, brother. I'm disappointed that you're playing Hogwarts right now, because I'm an hour and 23 minutes in. Wow. It's going to be I have to agree with him. It's going to be the best-selling game of the year. And you know something? Graphically, it's gorgeous. Oh my God, it's so good. It controls so good. I'm again only an hour and 23 minutes in, and I'm already invested. I can't wait to play it. He drops a very generous $5 super chat in all caps. He writes, "Tomorrow is the day, guys. Hogwarts Legacy is upon us. Indeed, it is." Highlander 001 drops an additional $5 super chat and says, Microsoft will be using Sony investors' report against them as that is a public and a legal document. Sony is going to regret meddling in this. I think they already they thought that Microsoft was just going to bug off or something, or they were trying to use their market dominance, and I think ultimately they're gonna lose here. Gerald Mack, who's been a channel member for over a year, thanks so much for that, brother. He drops a $5 super chat and says, "We've known all about the deal for more than a year, and we still haven't heard any mentions or concerns of the thousands of people that are involved." Yeah, this is a big deal. It's a monster deal. It's going to be very interesting. But listen, folks, before we end the show, and again, we're going to run a little bit into overtime because I do want to talk about Benedict Fox. Listen, last year, when you look at Xbox Game Pass, there's a lot that could jump off the page. But for me personally, I think of one of the biggest surprises of the year that probably I should have been my game of the year, but missed by a pinch because of Elden Ring being so great, is Vampire Survivors, right? That's an Xbox Game Pass. It's an indie title. It's made by one dude. It's $5, and I put over 100 hours into that game and still cannot wait. Every time I have 5-10 minutes, I jump in and I play, right? This year, one of the most unbelievable surprises in what seems like a very long time is Hi-Fi Rush, right? That game comes out and it is it's a master class achievement. But I think what really is the kicker here is that it's an Xbox Game Pass. It's getting players to download it and play it. Like you heard what Pong Soul said on Limits with Screen. He said that it is an incredible game. Now, it's not his type of game. He played through the first boss and shut it down because it's not his game, but he tips the cap where it's due, right?
Yeah.
Well, another game, Steel, that is releasing on April 27th is the last case of Benedict Fox. Now, if you've seen the gameplay trailer, if you've seen the deep dives they took for this game, if you are a fan, like, and I remember, folks, I'm old here. Remember a game called Flashback? I get a lot of Flashback vibes, but this is side-scrolling action adventure game with a hint of Castlevania thrown in, the Metrovania that we all know and love, about having to go back to areas because you were missing a certain thing. And what's crazy, what's pretty damn interesting about how you power up or you upgrade is he gets tattoos, and you see the tattoo artist writing, like drawing in on the screen. It's unbelievable. Like, I didn't know that until I watched the trailer. Like, holy crap, that's really cool. This is coming to Xbox Game Pass, day and date, April 27th. They're having a developer's gameplay reveal. Guess what today? Literally when this show started, it happened. It premieres on February 6th, which is today, at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, and at 5 p.m. Ground Mountain Time. So after the show, go check that out. They're gonna reveal a bunch of new information. But still, this is coming not only to Xbox Game Pass, it is an Xbox exclusive. Now, again, yes, it's coming to Steam, it's coming to PC, but it's an Xbox console exclusive. I think that and again, this is just me being a nerd. I like these kind of games, so it's up my alley. I think that this is going to be the next big one to come this year, and it's going to turn some heads. I think it's gonna do very well in the meta. It's gorgeous to look at. And if it's a Metrovania, like I think it's going to be, I think this is the big deal. This is a big game from an indie developer. What are your thoughts on it, man?
For me, the last case of Benedict Fox was definitely one of those when they originally showed the trailer for, or that tease, I should say, and gave us some gameplay. I thought it was a really interesting game. Now, I'll be completely honest to say it's not as much as I would be interested in something like that. It's not along the lines of a game that I would play currently. Now, with it being in Game Pass, it doesn't mean that I won't play it or that I won't, get a feeling like, man, that came out. I had some interest in that. Let me try it out. That could be very possible. And I mean, I do agree with you, Boom, that this does have the potential to be that next big indie hit, like we saw with kind of Hi-Fi Rush. It's sort of kind of indie, but I do think it has that potential to kind of more so light up Xbox and light up that whole, because Xbox kind of became more friendly with indies over time also. And then having that cross between the PC space and Xbox is perfect for indies because you get so many people that are able to get their hands on it versus those who wouldn't have, right? Again, Game Pass is great for that reason, especially when you can try things, no real harm to you other than your subscription that you're already paying monthly, or maybe you're getting in, you're newly involved and you're paying $1 for it, or whatever, whichever the case. And like Spider-Man 356 says, that's why I was like, I wouldn't necessarily say Hi-Fi is an indie per se. They have the backing of a big company like Microsoft now, but nonetheless, it is a smaller scope game where Benedict would realistically be a true indie.
Yes.
And Game Pass has done nothing but, again, we've seen more and more people come out. The developers for Everspace 2, which has been early, it's been on PC Game Pass for quite some time, but they just came out and said, hey, they just came out on Twitter and said, hey, if it wasn't for Game Pass and people being able to get early access to this game, we don't know where this game would be currently. They were just going out and thanking the players and saying, hey, we've been able to create a better game because of this, and now they're about to release on consoles and everything. Which is exactly what you want to see. We want to see these indie devs really step out, make different types of games, or maybe even take their inspirations and create something that they care about, right? Gaming is art and should be treated as such. And the more that we can do that, and the more people that we can literally get hands-on with it, I think the better off it will end up being, because more devs will have more eyes. That in turn will have more funds coming into the ecosystem, and that's just a win-win scenario for everybody. But other than that, again, Benedict's probably not going to be the one that I'm looking forward to playing around that time, with so many different styles of games coming out. It's typically what I kind of pull myself towards, especially being more of a multiplayer focused gamer. But because it is going to be part of a subscription that I am a part of, I have that option to try it out, and especially since I had some interest in it already. So,
yeah, I agree. I think the issue with 2023 specifically is going to be not enough time in a day to play everything. Because I said, you hear Pong says it every year, every day, every time you do a show, it's he talks about this being the best time in gaming history,
golden age of gaming,
golden age of gaming,
true golden age.
2023 is going to be one of those years that, regardless of what console you specifically like to play on, everyone is going to be eating good. I think Nintendo, you can't really count them out. We know Zelda's coming. We know that there's probably going to be a big one for the fall. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Super Mario Odyssey 2. I know they've been working on that. We could get some information on Animal Crossing, because that's been out a couple of years. So there's quite a bit coming for Nintendo. As for Sony, first party, all we know so far is Spider-Man, right? And that's going to be big. There's no doubt about it. I cannot wait to get that. We also have Final Fantasy 16. If we know that's an exclusive. Another big one for them is the remake of Silent Hill 2. That's good. That's a PlayStation 5 exclusive permanently. So that's going to bring a lot of players that love. I think it's the pinnacle of the series. I'm going to buy it, obviously, because I'm a big fan of Silent Hill, specifically Silent Hill 2. But we're all going to be eating good. I don't know where for you this game falls. For me, it's day one to play, because I'm a huge fan of Metrovanias, and I specifically love this kind of a look, this art style, especially a side scroller. Again, it's maybe because I'm old. I'm not exactly sure. But Dave, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Benedict Fox could be the next big one to come out for Xbox as an exclusive. And again, if people are like, oh yeah, indie, Hi-Fi Rush is not an indie. I know that's a big team. Tango Gameworks is big. I didn't mean it as such as an indie. I'm just saying that it's a game we didn't know that we needed in our lives, and here it is. And Benedict Fox could, in fact, be that next game. Based on what we've seen so far, I think we have it. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to, I guess it's Abdel114 in our chat. Said that Benedict Fox has a playable demo now available on Steam.
Well,
I'm downloading it in the background as we speak. So yeah, good on your Steam Deck there, Boom. I know you have a Steam Deck. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, it does have flashback vibes. It looks like fun. Looks like a good side scroller. I mean, it's going to be in Game Pass, so it's a no-brainer. It's a play. Try it. If you love it, great. If you don't, be on to the
delete
next.
it. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, for me, it's a definite. I'm definitely gonna. I hope it's as successful as it appears it's going to be.
Yeah.
So there you go. I look for a lot of hours of playing on that one, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I like old school games like that. I think it's going to have a lot of legs. And I do like I said, it's very different in regards to how you level up. You get tattooed, which is pretty freaking cool. And I don't know how many people are fans of what the hell's the name of the Demon Hunter in DC? Keanu Reeves played him. Constantine. Yeah, I get a lot of Constantine kind of vibes.
Yeah, that's true.
From the character. I don't know if it's because of his trench coat or his hairstyle, but
overall aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah, he does have a bit of a Constantine feel. And I'm a huge Constantine fan, which, by the way, if you didn't know, they're making a Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves, which is dope. I can't freaking wait. Love the first one. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your hot take on Benedict Fox, or the last case of Benedict Fox. Where does this fall as a must play for you?
Definitely was looking forward to it. It caught my eye when they did like the sizzle reel for like the upcoming stuff for the Game Pass. Probably going to wind up trying that demo on my Steam Deck later on today. Okay. But it just has that look, and some of the combinations. It looks like when you get the tattoos and the different power ups and stuff like that. It just speaks to me in that regard. So it's one of those. I guess you could say more of a like an old school, but with a very colorful palette type of look. Although it also draws me to kind of like a Ori type
Yeah, it
side
does have the
scroller,
Ori feel
and
to it as well. Yes.
yeah, so it's definitely on my must play list. But I'm debating on if I'm going to wind up also purchasing, even though it comes to Game Pass, I'm probably going to wind up purchasing it on Steam for the Steam Deck. So we'll see how that goes. But man, looking forward to playing this demo later and seeing the updated trailer they have for it. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's I've heard a lot of people say that specifically, where they're like, "Well, I can play it on Game Pass, but I'm gonna buy it on X console." For you, it's Steam, and that's the beauty of Game Pass. Like you're paying monthly, you don't gotta pay, you don't gotta buy it, but you can buy it somewhere else, and now you have 2 copies of it, which is pretty dope. That's awesome. I love to hear it. Real quick, the Black Harry Potter once again drops a very generous $2 super chat. He says, I love this dude. He says, "I told you, Mr. Boom, game of the year." I mean, listen, what could you say? All I could say is that anyone that has not played it, and hopefully there's going to be a lot of people that buy this game, regardless of the ridiculous controversy. Don't hurt the devs. They worked really hard on this, and I got to tell you, Avalanche, wow. This is when you see the game, and I was immediately, it was like, I can't believe the graphics, they're this good. I want Avalanche as a first party studio. I hope they do eventually join XGS. That's one of the studios that I want to see come and be a first party developer, because I think that with the IPs that Microsoft isn't using, I'd like to see what they could do with some of those. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for your 90 minutes or your 90 plus minutes of today's Xbox lunch break special. I'm Mr. BoomStick XL. This is Double Barrel Gaming. And if you're finding the channel for the first time, folks, we are 300 and change away from 12K. I'd love to hit that before the end of the month. We're early into February. Was hoping to hit it in January to start off the year, but we did get a significant amount of subs. So if you're not subbed to the channel, please consider subscribing. And a big shout out to all the super chats that have come in. Once again, those do help more than you actually know. And shout out to all the new channel members. Hopefully that you were gifted, thanks to Leonard Herrera, that you hang around after the 1 month runs out, and you want to support the channel, because we do a ton of giveaways. Last year we gave away $3,500 worth of gift cards, and it's our way of paying the success of this channel forward, and we love to do it, and we'd love to do it equally. We are doing 2 big giveaways, and the big one is coming the way of 15 copies of Stalker 2. We're giving away when that game finally gets a release date. Upon its release, the day of its release, we're going to do a special 1 hour podcast with footage. Hopefully we can get some of the devs to come on and help us give away 15 copies of that game. And we're also, folks, going to give away 5 copies of Hi-Fi Rush. Now that's thanks to Pixelbit G in the chat. He asked if we would do it for 1 physical copy, and Mrs. Boom and I on the spot decided that we would give away 5. So whether or not it's physical or it's digital, we will be giving away 5 copies of that game, and we'll be giving away the digital deluxe version as well. So yeah, 5 copies of the digital deluxe version, which is $40 a piece, but we will be giving it away to channel members. Nice. And of course, let's get to the outros. And Steel, you guys are on the hunt for 1K. I want to see you guys hit it. You guys do great work. Another 4+ hour show this Saturday.
Yeah, man.
Great topics. Please talk about it. Sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can tune in each and every Saturday morning with you and Pong Soul.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful people, I want to thank you guys for coming out and joining us today right here within the BoomStick Kingdom. No better place to be right here on a Monday afternoon. Hopefully you guys' week has started great, but you can find me. I still reign. The T is a 7. You can just type that into Google if that's easy for you. That's one way. But the main way is going to be every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time. I am one of the hosts for a non-console-centric platform known as Living Split Screen. Yes, we are on the hunt for 1K. Hopefully, we can actually hit 3K by the end of the year. I got some lofty goals. I'm trying to do some things in the background to get us there. But it is the home of that RTS perspective. That's real-time strategy, if you didn't know, where we just pull ourselves out of the world, look at the darker crevices of the map, pull all of our resources together, and build up that foundation to potentially reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil always talks about. And it's also home of that ECP, that educated consumer perspective, because no, we're not lawyers and we don't run $1 million businesses, but we are consumers. And I do feel like, we've had plenty of tenure within the gaming sphere to at least have valid opinions. With that being said, again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out today. Hit that like button for Boom, please. And other than that, we'll catch y'all next time. Much love.
Thank you so much for that, brother. Definitely appreciate you being here. And of course, check out Living Split Screen Saturday mornings on Steel Rain's YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will not, trust me when I tell you, head over there, subscribe. It's hashtag Boomstick approved. And speaking of getting to 1K as well, Web Dave, not only do you have one of the best one-on-one shows in YouTube and in gaming, you dropped a massive interview today, but you also launched a new show Sunday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Retri from Game Pass Daily. Talk about it, brother.
Yes, Boom. Thank you so much for having me on today, man. Love being here. Outbreak Gamers, at Outbreak Gamers in YouTube. Put drop the link in the chat there for people if they want to click on it and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. We're quite a bit away from 1,000, so but we're gonna get there eventually, and we'll work there. We'll earn it. How's that?
There you go.
But yeah, dropped a video today, interview with Noof Nukem. He's been around a long time. Boom's actually been on a few of his shows, and it's a pretty interesting interview. If you're just interested in more content providers, or actually content people that bring content to the community, you definitely want to check that out. And then more interviews are coming. Got a couple more in the can. One big one I'm still working on. Ooh, it's elusive, but I'm not giving up. Not giving up. Gonna keep trying to do that. And then last thing I'll say is that we do have a new show, which is the kind of the premise for it is that it's a if you're in the chat, you're in the conversation, and we literally bring in, there's no requirement for super chats. You have a question, you ask it, we talk about some topics, and then we just kind of get you involved if you're in the chat. It went really well. We even had a few members of the community like Keasante and Wandering Dutch stopped in, Crispy Bomb. So it was kind of nice seeing that as well. So definitely if you get a chance. And of course we started it on a Sunday, and then we're like, hey, next week we're going to take a break because it's the Super Bowl. So we'll be back the following week, with the new show. But anyway, thanks, Boom, and appreciate it, man. Love it.
No problem, brother. And again, whether you're 600 away or 6 away, getting to 1K is a big deal, especially if you're a content creator. And love to see you. You work really hard on your channel, and love to see that.
Thank
you. And speaking of working hard on their channel, no one does it better when it comes to anything and everything racing than the Fuzzy One himself. Fuzzy brother, sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can go and subscribe to your YouTube channel, but more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Oh, just want to thank you for having me on today, and it was awesome having Steel Rain on here with us as well. Man, always love your takes on things. For all those that are fans of the Xbox platform and us here on this show, definitely check out Dave's recent interview with Noof Nukem. Give it a listen. Awesome member of the community. I know he's going through some rough patches because of some different opinions, but always a good dude. And Dave's interviews are some of the best in the business.
Top class. Yep.
But you, for anybody that wants to hear any of my takes on anything racing related or any type of gaming, right now I'm hooked on boxing with Undisputed from Steel City Interactive. So just check me out on social media at fuzzy_Belvedere. Also on YouTube, Instagram, basically all the social medias. You can also find me later on tonight on FSP on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right on, Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. tonight. And then you can find me also on Breakfast with Boom right on this channel, Double Barrel Gaming at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Friday morning. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Appreciate it very much, brother, and thank you for always being here. Definitely appreciate that you're a part of the show. Not only this show, but Breakfast with Boom on Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us today. Again, thank you for the support. If you are a new viewer, thank you for considering to join. To click the subscribe button and help us get to 12K. It would be such a really big deal for Mrs. Boom and myself. We work super hard. We stream 5 days a week, and the content is all well researched. When we get it wrong, we get it wrong, and I'm the first one to get out there and say that I got it wrong. But listen, I'm going to close out the show with something, folks, that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.
It's all about you.